So when my next assignment there was on Monday morning, September 13th, and I'd left Rochester in the dark, driving down, supposed to start the 6 a.m. shift. And as I'm driving down, I see these police lights in the back rearview mirror. I pulled off to the side, and about 100 police cars went flying by, full with state police. They had also been working on a 12-hour shift, and so we figured these were the guys who were replacing the next shift. When I got there, those state police had gone in. No one had come out. We also noticed that some National Guard helicopters had landed on the lawn outside the prison, about several hundred feet away, and we saw them loading up canisters on the helicopters. At this time, just shortly before all this was going on, one of our reporters from Rochester, a fellow by the name of Cliff Smith, had established a relationship with a couple down the road, and they were leaving because they felt that the prisoners were going to come over the wall, and they were afraid of that, so they were packing up to leave, but they gave the keys to their house to this reporter who showed up and wanted to use their phone. So Cliff made an early phone call, and that phone we didn't hang up that phone for the next 18 hours. Cliff, myself, and Terry Dillman, another reporter from Rochester, were there. And we were told that shortly, I guess it was in the early morning, that an ultimatum had been given to the inmates, that it was time to end the riot and time had to surrender. The tension was growing in the crowd. Everybody was kind of anticipating something happening, and then all of a sudden the helicopters lifted up and they swirled over the press corps, and on the way over they gave us a pretty good douse of tear gas on the way over. And as they flew over the prison, we heard gunfire erupting. So during this period of time, Terry and Cliff and I were shuttling back and forth to the open line at the prison gate, or moving back and forth with updates, whatever we could feed into the desk. And that was the case for most of the day. After the gunfire, there was a lot of speculation on what was going on. No one knew for a while. There were ambulances coming up. There was one scene where a fella covered in a white robe, covered with blood, came out of the prison. The reporters mobbed him and, doctor, what's going on? And he said, what's the worst I've ever seen since I was in Vietnam? And there was a lot of this misinformation coming out. And finally, there was one of the prison spokesmen came out and announced that the prison had been retaken, and that several of the hostages had been killed by the inmates who slashed their throats, and that's what precipitated the state police going in. So that's the story that was going out at the time, and it was broadcast around the world that these hostages had all been killed by the inmates who cut their throats. That evening, the editors at the Times-Union sent as many reporters as they could to track down family members, anybody who had been there, anybody who knew anything, trying to get more information. And we had a motel room finally in Batavia, New York, where we were all trying to grab a little sleeping 3 people crosswise on the bed. I had covered had gone to the Holiday Inn in Batavia, where the state police were sort of relaxing in the bar, watching the news, and it was kind of like being in a hunting camp after a successful day. They were showing, it was a news special, and they were showing film from earlier on in the riot, where the various inmates were making demands, and some of the troopers were saying, well, that one got it, and I saw him get it, and that one went down. And then I grabbed an interview with the head of the police, or the guards union, who said he was one of the first people who got in afterwards. and he described to me how the inmates had slashed the throats of the hostages, and that's what had precipitated all this.